Hello everybody and welcome to our third project, which is going to be the SSH brute forcer. So for now on, we managed to scan the open ports to determine which ones were closed, which ones were open. We also managed to scan for the softwares running on those open ports. And now let's imagine an example that we didn't really manage to find any vulnerable software running on those open ports. Well, now we have to turn to different approaches, such as, for example, trying to gain access through some of those services running on those open ports. And we're going to take a look at the first one, which is going to be the SSH brute force. Now, what is an SSH? Well, SSH is a way that you can communicate and control the target machine over the internet just by performing the SSH connection to that specific machine. Now, of course, it is a secure protocol, therefore we would need the username and password in order to gain access to that specific machine over the SSH protocol. Now, for the purposes of this project, we're going to use a virtual machine which is called Metasploitable. Now, I downloaded it and already installed it. Here it is. And in case you don't know how to do that, I created a bonus video which is going to be at the last section of this course, and there you should see the bonus video which simply just shows you how to download and install Metasploitable. Now, I will assume that you already have it and that you watched that video, so I will simply just start this machine. And first of all, we're going to take a look at how we can simply just connect over the SSH using our terminal. And then we're going to try to implement all of that into our SSH brute forcer program. Now, there will be two versions of this program. One will be a regular SSH brute force and the other one will be the SSH brute forcer with threading library. Now, the reason why we do that is because if you use a threading library in order to perform brute forcing, it will automatically be faster than simply just using one thread in order to perform the brute force. But let's not bother ourselves with that right now. Let's see how we can connect to the SSH using our terminal. So our machine is up and running. We log in using the msfadmin as a username and msfadmin as a password. And here it is. Everything works correctly. If I type ifconfig, I will check my IP address, which is going to be 192.168.1.3. So I need to remember that, open up my terminal, let me enlarge all of this in, and now try to connect to that IP address using SSH protocol. So SSH and then 192.168.1.3. Press here enter, and here are some of the stuff that happens once you try to connect over the SSH. The authenticity of the host can be established. RSA key fingerprint is, and then this one, are you sure you want to continue connecting? We want to type here yes, and it will tell us that it permanently added the RSA to the list of known hosts. Now, this is just some regular stuff that happens once you try to actually connect to the SSH, and we're going to have to implement some of these things in our program as well, so keep in mind for that right now. And it will ask us to connect to the root account, which we don't really want, so I'm just going to click exit right here. I will control C and then I will SSH msfadmin and then at 192.168.1.3. Okay, and the password will be msfadmin if I'm not mistaken. And here it is. We successfully managed to connect to the msfadmin account on the Metasploitable virtual machine using the SSH from our terminal. Alright, and now if I type ifconfig in this terminal, you will see that we get the exact same IP address as we got when I typed ifconfig inside our Metasploitable. So we basically got something like a reverse shell running, and we can execute any commands we want, and we can do anything onto our Metasploitable machine. So let me exit this, since we are not really interested in doing this over terminal, and let's start a new project on SSH brute forcer. Now, of course, I showed you an example. Let me just open up my PyCharm. Now, of course, I showed you an example in which we actually know the password to the target, and in our program we want to make sure that we do not know the password, and we will try multiple passwords until we actually find the correct one. Okay? And then once we find the correct one, we will print it to the screen, found password, and we will print the username and the password for that specific account. Now, by default, we will probably open up our previous project, which is going to be the vulnerability scanner. Yeah, here it is. But we want to, as usual, create a new project, which we will call the SSH brute forcer. So let's wait for all of these to load up. Okay, so it loaded up. Let's go to the file, new project. Let's name the project to be SSH brute force. Click on create. We want to create and open the new project inside of this window. Let's wait for it to create the virtual environment for us and all the dependencies. And now we can simply just create our Python file by right-clicking, new Python file, and let's call it sshbrute.py. Easy to remember, so all we're going to do in this video before we end it is we're going to import the needed libraries for this program to work. Now, let's type the import command, and the first library and the most important library for this actual project is going to be the Paramiko library. We will use this library in order to automate the process of connecting to our SSH client. So this library has already pre-made functions that we can use in order to make this process shorter. Alright? Then we're going to need the sys library, the OS library, the socket library, of course. Every time we actually try to perform some task over the internet, we will most likely use the socket library, and we are also going to use the term color library. Now, you will notice that out of these 5 libraries, 2 are actually red underlined, which means we do not have them installed inside our virtual environment. So let's install them. We already know how to do that. We will open up our terminal inside our PyCharm and type pip3 install, and first let's go with the Paramiko, since Paramiko is essential for this program to work, while as term color we don't really need, but it will make our program look nicer. And we can see it successfully installed Paramiko, and now let's pip3 install term color. Alright, so pip3 install term color, and this will finish in just a second. Here it is. If I exit this terminal and go back to my program, for some reason this is still red underline, not really sure why. Let's start typing something, maybe it will go away. Print. Yeah, it went away, great. So everything is imported successfully, and in the next video we can start off with our brute forcer. Hope I see you in the next lecture, and take care. Bye.